Hello friends, welcome to my channel Sushant Chess. Today we are at the next topic, that is the king and pawn endgames. We are at the 10th lesson and this is the continuation of the previous lesson when we were discussing about the floating squares. So this case we have got here just to show you. Last time we discussed that when the square formed by the pawns, the edges are occupied by the pawns here, pawns are on the same rank or same line. Then if the edge is just touching the end of the board, that is the last line, and such a square is formed like here it is, then the pawns are capable of outpowering the pieces, but the king outpowering the king. So in this case black will win. But let's say we push the same position one move behind, the pawns go one move behind, then what happens? So we see the square formed by the pawns here are not touching the edge of the board. So we see the square here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we get a square like this which is not touching the edge of the board. Now two rules come into play in this. At time, if the distance between the two pawns are 2 files only, then the king is able to capture both the pawns. And if the distance is like 3 or more, then the king is just capable of stopping the pawns. King cannot capture the pawns for free. So this is a position where we will have to note that both will have to play accurately to be able to hold the game. So let's discuss this position as black to play first, because black's task looks more difficult here. So what is happening? If black plays e5 instantly, then there will be kd5, and after a5 we see that the king takes the pawn on e5 and he still remains in the square of the pawn and he takes the pawn. Similarly, bad is a5, same because of king b5. So black has to rely on his king move and he should try to waste the move with his king. But unfortunately, king h6 doesn't help, because what happens? The king simply goes near the pawn, own pawn, promotes it and queens first. I'll just show you the variation. After kh6, kd6, a5, ke6, a4, kf7, a3, g7, a2, g8, a1 and queen g6 mates. So white will win in that case. So black has to play some other move, and that other move is king f6. The point of discussing this position is we want to know what the pawns are only capable of doing, and we are concentrating on our king's power or ability. So now here the first problem for white now, because if he tries to go near the pawns, let's say he plays kb6, then after e5 soon he is struggling, because now we will reach the previous position kc5 a5, the rule which we discussed yesterday. Now see, the pawns are on the such a way that they are occupying the edge of the square and the square is touching the last line. So what will happen? This position is losing for white. So what is white supposed to do here? So white will have to wait in such a way that he is able to go near the pawn and capture them. So for instance, if the king was on c6, he could have played king c5. Now he can try the move kc4. The idea is simple. If a5, then he goes kb5. And after e5, we can just take the pawn on e5. So what we will see here, suppose this is the position and black goes kg7 again, then white will again goes kc5, and there will be repetition of the position and the game will be drawn. Now let's see one more case where we will try to make the pawns closer, that is the distance will be of 2 files, and see what happens. Let's slightly change the position and have a look at this case here. We see the pawns are on the edge of the square, and what we see, the square is formed from a5 to d5, d5 to d2, d2 and d2 to a2 and a2 to a5. So this is the square formed by the pawns, and we see the distance between them is just 2 files. So in such a case what will happen? The white king will able to take the pawns. That is what the rule says. So we will check with both white to play and black to play in order to confirm the rule. So if black plays d4, then just king c4 comes. And what will happen? After a4, king takes d4 and he will be able to capture the a pawn. Similarly, we can make this just white to play. Let's say black just plays h6 and waits. And this position is like white to play because we are discussing mainly the relation of our king against his pawns. Okay, so now comes the move king a4. Okay, idea is to take the pawn on a5, and now as soon as black goes d4, thinking that after k5 d3 comes, white has the move kb3, and now we see that a4 just loses the pawn, king into a4, and whatever black does, let's say g7, then kc4, and after a4 king takes d4, and a pawn will be lost soon. King will just take the pawn and white will win the game. In future we are going to take many positions where this rule will be very useful in making calculations and in drawing conclusions. I hope you are finding these lessons useful. Do like, share and subscribe the channel. Thanks for your time.